John, let's get into this draft. It has been slow going to sort of crank it up. And by the way, in part because the other teams have been compelling. I mean, Joel came back. The Flyers are collapsing, but still, available to make the playoffs. They just got to freaking win a couple games. The tournament's been going on. This draft has been submerged topic-wise. John, I'm curious now, 16 days away from when this thing cranks up on a Thursday 2 weeks from now. What are you thinking? What's top of mind for you? Big opportunity for Howie. Pick 22. What are you thinking here today?
Yeah, exploring our needs in the draft. It's always so interesting. It's fun. We all know after watching the season that our cornerbacks are old. Our offensive line, it feels finally like, hey, it's a little depleted.
Well, no, Kelsey's
we don't
a big
know
thing.
who
Yeah.
we have
Yep.
backing up. It felt like in years past we had a too deep across the way where we actually liked the backups across our offensive line. That's not the case this time around. It feels like cornerback, offensive tackle / guard, versatile guy, but I prefer a tackle personally. I think those are probably the places we're leaning. I'd never be surprised by an edge guy because they're so important. If there's one there who just happens to fall to you, that I'm positive Howie would pull the trigger on that if they like him. But I think this is all about restoring the bedrock of our organization this year. This is all about, hey, it was slipping a little bit. We lost an all-timer at center. Running around over there at WrestleMania Saturday night, that all-timer we lost, he was running around with another guy who happens to still be on our team. But he's, the fact that he's running around at WrestleMania, it should signify we got to get these wheels turning to start replacing him in a big way.
You're thinking O-line here?
Absolutely. Offensive tackle. And I told you I like that Fuaga guy. I really like Talese Fuaga. And did a little digging, did a little watching, and J.C. Latham surpassed him in my mind. Another Alabama product, J.C. Latham. And I'm talking, hey, what do we need to do to possibly trade up to go get this guy? He's what we want. He's what we need at tackle. A bear, 6'6", 350 pounds, ran a 4.85 at that size. So he's so agile, just dancing out there. You want to see a guy who will maul you moving forward and then mirror you and patty cake, and it's a beautiful you can't get by this guy. He's so deft as a pass protector. I love what he brings. The fact that he's listed at 342 at the combine. The guy plays at probably 355, 360. He's got 11-inch hands. He's got 36-inch arms. These are all measurables that are like it makes his job so much easier. He's got giant weapons on the end of each arm.
Is he going to be a guard next year?
He could be.
He better be.
He could.
Because otherwise he's not going to start.
He absolutely could play guard. But he could also play tackle. And next year, we've got Lane Johnson playing tackle. I'm thinking about the year after that, you'd probably need to slide someone in.
It's so here's the deal, and I'm curious where everyone stands as we approach this draft at 215-592-9494. We obviously have not heard many names. We really haven't done much of a deep dive yet. And I guess that process in many ways begins today. I've got the latest mock draft here from Daniel Jeremiah. John, the player you're talking about there, Latham from Alabama, he's got going 18. Eagles, of course, at 22. If that holds, Eagles would have to move up to get him.
Yes, and I'm good with moving.
Yeah.
I am positive that this is
Eagles have extra draft capital. We know they got the second round pick. They got the pick,
the right guy.
Pick they added the other day in the trade, Reddick, and that's a couple years down the road. But they got more than enough to work with if they want to go up. I'll just tell you this: I'm not. I don't want anyone to think I'm going to dismiss offensive tackle or offensive lineman as an option, because
is where they should.
I get John's point that it really has been the bedrock more than the defensive line. I think when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they were top 5 offensive and defensive line in pro football, and I think it's fair to say that in recent years the offensive line has stayed stronger while the defensive line declined to an extent. The offensive line, John is right. The offensive line's been the bedrock. Here's where I think he's missing the point though. focusing just the way he did there on that guy in that spot, offensive line. Like, defense was by far the team's biggest issue in 2023. I mean, long term, you can say whether Hurts is good enough is like the ultimate issue, and I'd say it is the ultimate issue. And Sirianni's a big issue. But as far as where were they worse in 2023, guys, it wasn't even close. I mean, let's just remember this reality. At the end of the year, there were a lot of people locally and nationally that would tell you, even though their statistics didn't speak to it because they had had success earlier in the season, at the end of the football season, there were a lot of people that believe the Eagles actually fielded the worst defense in the entire National Football League. The worst. So here we are now, just a couple months later. Now, have they made some adjustments? Sure. I mean, Bryce Huff is in. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is in. I get that. Devin White is in. But here's the deal. I also look at, I mean, first off, I told you a couple months ago when this whole thing crumbled that, my projection was this defense was going to be a 2-year rebuild. It's going to take 2 years. And by the way, I'll stand by that word rebuild. Like, they don't have to rebuild the team per se because the offense is largely intact and should remain as such, hopefully, for the next couple of years. But the defense, guys, they have lost. They have lost so much in Let me just say this:
2-year rebuild, Joe. That does not sound like it even meshes with what the NFL is.
It's what it is. Like what?
No, that's not what
why
it is.
Wait?
You can turn things over faster now than you could. I don't know, at the inception of free agency. It sounds like you're looking at this like it's 1994.
I get the point you're making, but I'll say this: in the last 14 months or 13 months, whatever the heck you want to call it, the Eagles have lost, in no particular order, Javon Hargrave, T.J. Edwards, Marcus Epps. Now, Kaiser White, I'm not going to put a ton of stock in him, but, I mean, you could play him. He was a serviceable starting player. Wasn't great. He was serviceable. They've lost Fletcher Cox on defense. They've lost Hassan Reddick on defense. And James Bradbury aged by about 25 years. So, like, in all due respect to, like, let's solidify our bedrock, go get some freaking defensive players. I mean, nice start with CJ, GJ, and free agency. Nice start.
Do we know the compensatory, Howie is on top of the compensatory picks? Like, that's always a secret surprise that blows us away. We're going to find out in the near future, like, hey, look at all these picks that you didn't even know you had.
Well, I hear you. Look,
that Howie's going to go use it again.
This defense needs to be rebuilt, and it's in the process of being rebuilt, but it ain't over. Guys,
need rebuilt.
As of now, Bradbury's a starter. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yes, and he's going to need help.
Are you kidding me?
And I believe he can do the job.
Oh, for the love of God.
With the right plays called and the right help, knowing where his help is, having a defensive coordinator who understands his limitations, where they sit, he can help him out.
Yeah, his limitations are don't play him.
I
cannot
he's
believe
better than that,
guys,
I think you're going to find that out this year.
He better have been injured.
Our defense will be helped by the greatest rushing offense in the league. Build up the offensive side of the ball in this year's draft with that first pick.
Look, I'll just tell you this. We'll take your calls at 215-592-9494. I mean, let's really start getting into it today. I mean, look, we know the deal. It's Philadelphia, it's WIP, and it's an Eagles draft. I mean, at some point here, we got to wake up. I'll just tell you this. The way I look at it, D-frickin-tackle. They've lost Hargrave and Cox in back-to-back years. I don't believe in Jordan Davis. Jalen Carter's obviously skilled. You want to have at least 3 dudes in there. I think they got 1. If you want to count Milton Williams, 2, but he's got 1 year left on his deal. He also plays outside a decent amount. D-tackle, cornerback, massive issue.
Tuipulotu's good.
I will say, massive issue in corner. Safety, they got, to my knowledge, 1 guy that I trust, CJ, GJ. Otherwise, they got a lot of 3rd and 4th options. I don't want Blankenship starting. I don't want Sidney Brown starting. I need another safety. I need at least 1 corner. By the way, I might only have Slay for 1 more year, so I got to replace him soon too. Plus, I only got Devin White for a year.
And Slay could fall off a cliff at any second.
No question. And again, I'm just telling you, to me, like, the thing that is so unbelievable no one's talking about, James Bradbury is still currently a starter. What in the, hell? All right, so if you're of the mindset, offensive tackle, offensive lineman, look, I get it, guys. Losing Jason Kelce, it's massive. And there's a domino effect. This guy might move here. This guy might move here. We don't even know who the center is. Is it Landon Dickerson? Is it Cam Jurgens? I'm not saying there's not need there. There is need there. But my God, there's more need on defense. your thoughts. 215-592-9494. Where you stand on the draft. Phils last night, we'll get into that. Great job by them pulling it out. Not against a very good team, but pulling it out. The whole thing's on the table, and two really big games tonight. Sixers and Flyers really need some W's. 215-592-9494. Joe DeCamera and John Ritchie. It is, of course, 94 WIP.